Hi, Fiona. How are you? I'm so excited to have you on the Glow Up Social Girls. Thank you so much for joining. I'm probably like a broken record. I always say I never take it lightly when someone says yes, when I extend the invitation and they say yes. And I'm so excited that you're here today because we have so much to talk about, a lot of human design that we're going to talk about. We're going to dive deep. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Cynthia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm also so honored to be here. One of my intentions recently was I need to expand my presence. I need to expand my impact and my presence. And we'll get into my story soon. But for me, showing up and speaking in front of people has always been a very hard thing for me. So even though it's a big desire to show up, it's also very challenging too. So I'm so grateful that you've given me the opportunity as well.
Yeah, thank you. I started this podcast about 2 months ago. It's been like on my heart for 3 to 4 years. And it's interesting because I did a human design reading and I found that my voice, I'm sure you know the better word for it, was very defined, which I found like very surprising. And that kind of like led me, that was like my push to doing my podcast. Because I always like doubted, like, am I a good communicator? Like, who's going to listen to me? And when I did my human design chart reading, and I found that my throat was very defined, I was like, oh my God, like this is a sign. Like I definitely have to go for it. Um, so I just can't wait. Let's go ahead and deep dive. You have a beautiful background. It's
Thank
11
you.
p.m. in US. You have such a beautiful background. So let's start from the beginning. Like, introduce yourself. How did you get to human design? I know you were a financial analyst, which is very interesting because I have interviewed a few people and they're always on the business side, but then their like side hustle is so creative. It's like the complete opposite. So yeah, go ahead. Let's dive right in.
Okay. Do you want me to explain what human design is first as
Yeah,
well?
I think let's give the listeners an overview of what is human design. And
Okay.
yeah, let's start
Perfect.
from there.
So, human design is a self knowledge system based on ancient wisdoms such as the Kabbalah, Tree of Life, the I Ching. It's also based on astrology and quantum physics. So, what human design shows us is that we are all perfectly designed to be successful and to achieve our purpose. And when we live in alignment with how our energy body is flowing and working and tap into our skills and all those things, life becomes so much easier. It starts to flow. You become magnetic for aligned opportunities. You just start flowing. And when you slip out of alignment, it's life is hard and it's stuck and stagnant, and it feels like you're swimming against the current. So what I do is I help people rediscover how they're naturally designed and their natural gifts and everything they have within them, and how they're designed to approach and operate in life, so that life becomes easier. Um, so yes, I've been on my own journey, so I'll let you guys know the story of my journey and where it all began. Um,
Yeah.
I'd say I've always struggled with speaking in front of people. It's always like really bad anxiety. And I remember even back in primary school, if I wanted to raise my hand in class, I'd literally, my heart would be out of my chest, my palms would get sweaty, my vision would go. It was like really bad anxiety, and I couldn't contribute in class in front of people. And then went on to university, let's say quite a few years later, and we then had to, present the tutorial, the classes, and again, the anxiety, I would be like outside of my body. I don't know if anyone resonates with that feeling of like you're not in your body. And I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, really bad anxiety, just couldn't wait to sit down. Then I went into my first job. I was a data analyst for a housing association based in Manchester in England. Um, and, it's a very Excel based job behind the computer screen all day. And I enjoyed it. But when we got together and we had team meetings, there would be things I wanted to contribute, things I would see in the data or something I wanted to say. And I just could not put myself in a position to speak up in front of a group of people. So I'd whisper to my manager after, oh, this, I see this. um, so yeah, I really, really struggled. And then it came to about pandemic time, and I just really had this drive to delve into the health and wellness world. I wanted to create impact in the health and wellness world. So I trained to become a health coach at the College of Naturopathic Medicine. And I started that journey and starting the journey of running my own business and getting clients. Um, and I knew that I had to learn how to find my voice if I wanted to be a business owner and also like a leader, and to create impact, I would have to find my voice. Um, so I hired a business coach as well to help me get off the ground, and she coached me based on my human design, and that's where human design comes in. um, and I said to her straight away, I struggle with my throat center. I know that there's something, maybe a block, something in my throat center, and that's a really one of the key areas I want to focus on, because I need to show up. And how do I show up if I can't use my voice?
Right.
So I learned so much through her. I learned, first of all, that my throat center was undefined, which means I don't have consistent energy there. I'm amplified. So I need to be around people or someone to amplify the energy in my throat center. So when I first started my health coaching business, I thought, okay, I'll try and record a series of like tutorials and just put them on the internet, and then people can buy them, and nice passive income. And I just try and sit down and I try and record myself day after day after day, and I could not get my words out. So this made sense when I discovered, okay, I don't have the consistent energy there. I need someone in front of me to trigger me or to bounce off of. So I learned that, and I learned as well that I have a gate in my throat center, which basically means I'm designed to speak intuitively and flow through storytelling. And I think this was my biggest block throughout all my life, because I was trying to communicate in a very logical, structured way. And I would, if I didn't have the facts or the logic behind what I thought and what I saw, I wouldn't say it, because I'd be worried people would judge me, or, question, where does that come from? Who are you to say this if you haven't, got the facts and all that behind it? So it would stop
Right.
me from sharing my opinions. And especially when I'd hear things and I really want to contribute, and I just couldn't. Um,
Do you
and
think
then
that was because you were a financial analyst, you were thinking like that?
Um, Potentially, but obviously this stems from childhood. So I think even as a child, I think I was probably conditioned to think that in order to have value in what you say, prove it, or have the facts to back it up, or speak in a
Right.
logical way. Um, and when I tried doing that, even when I first started my health coaching business, and wanted to explain the facts and why this is healthy, why this is good for you, when I spoke in that very logical way, it didn't land as well with people. People weren't resonating as much. And when I changed my communication style, and my coach helped me, slowly, bit by bit, when I changed it, people resonated with me so much, and I was so shocked. And also, it was very hard for me to do, because you become very vulnerable to be able to just speak intuitively. Especially on social media, it's a
Yeah.
very vulnerable thing to do. But actually, like, people have deeply resonated with me ever since. So just finding out I'm designed to communicate alone has changed my life and my business and everything. And I'm showing up and I'm running weekly workshops, and now I'm on your podcast, and things I wouldn't even be able to put my hand up in school. So to be able to do this all from reprogramming how I'm designed to communicate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And you're helping so many people. Like when I found your Instagram page, I think that was the first video that I saw, the story that you just told, how you were communicating a certain way. You wanted to record the videos, but you had such a hard time and you were trying to find your voice. And that's what I've been trying to do this year. So that's what kind of like caught my attention to you. So just by you sharing that story, the impact that it had in me, I can just imagine everyone else that you've impacted. So
I hope
that's
so.
amazing.
Yeah.
Of course. So, how did you learn about human design? Did Where did you find human design?
Okay, so I was introduced to it through my business coach. And
Okay.
yes, it changed my business, it changed my health, it changed my relationships, it changed everything, because obviously all these things are transferable. So
Right.
it just changed every single aspect of my life. And so at the time I was health coaching, and I realized if I know the human design of my clients, they will achieve their health goals not only quicker, but more sustainably. So
Mhm.
I went and trained. I trained with the same person my coach trained with. Um, and I started using human design with my clients. And then human design just got so popular. The health coaching kind of went down, and people were just requesting human design, because I think also by default, if you're living in alignment, your health becomes better, right? If you're
Right.
out of
Yeah, I was just
balance,
gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah, if you're out of
Yeah.
balance in any area, even like the gut, because we did a reading recently, and I was telling if you're in your sacral center, if there's any imbalances there, then you might experience gut issues, and the root center is connected to the adrenal glands. If your root center is out of balance, then the cortisol hormones, all that, all the health things that come along with that. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where I am today. Now I'm a fully full time human design coach.
That's awesome. And when did you decide to transition out of becoming a financial analyst and then doing this full time? When was that moment that you realized, like, okay, it's time for me to transition out?
Ah, okay. It was during the pandemic, because obviously I had a lot more time on my hands, and what lights me up, what I like to do, I love to study and I love to learn. So I was spending a lot of time reading, studying, doing different courses. That's how I got through the pandemic. And I loved it. It was like, I know it's a really horrible time, but also there's a silver lining to that time too. And I loved it. I loved all the time I was able to have to study and learn. So after that, I think my passion for the health and wellness world, and helping people maybe recover from, maybe they've had COVID, helping them recover and helping them detox, and I take a very natural approach, and holistic. So I was so passionate about it. I think as soon as I started getting a few clients, I said to my partner, I can't do my full time job anymore. Like, my heart's not in it, and it's not fair to them either, because I'm not delivering my best because my heart's not in it, and it's just my heart is in
Right.
something else, and I need to pursue it. And I guess once you start getting clients, the validations there, like, and they give you amazing feedback, you're like, okay, there is something here, and I'm helping people, which is really what it comes down to. Is what I wanted to do, was to help people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are there any misconceptions about human design that you've heard overall?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. It's a really important. When I run my workshops, I do say this at the beginning, is that a lot of people think that human design can be limiting, like putting you in a box, but it's not. It's absolutely not. You can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a doctor, you can be a doctor. If you want to be a farmer, you can be a farmer. Whatever you want to be, you can do. When you work with your human design, it helps you get there quicker. That's the difference. It's not saying you are this or you have to do this. It's when you work with your strategy that's aligned for you, you just get there quicker with more flow, easier. So, yeah, I think one of the things people get nervous about is that it's limiting, but it's actually liberating.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I never thought about it that way. It's actually very liberating.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that was amazing to hear, I know we spoke yesterday and you were saying the way we were conditioned as a child. And when me and you were talking yesterday, and I kept telling you, I try, I'm someone that tries different things. Like I started off as a journalist major, like when I went to college, and then I went into business major. Then I did a minor in child psychology. I was a doula for 2 years. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I
Yeah.
just like love learning. But I thought that was something negative about me because I just like jump and try different things. And when we spoke yesterday, it was interesting to learn that that was just the way I was conditioned as a child because my parents were very, I wouldn't say strict, but education to them was like, top priority. It was like number one, like education, like you finish high school and you have to know what you want to do. And then you go to college and you finish and then you start your career. And then here comes Cynthia trying 100 things. And
Yeah.
I know like they weren't so happy with me trying all these different things. So in the back of my mind, I thought of it as something negative because I was conditioned by them a certain way. So it's just, I've
Yeah.
learned so much from my reading.
Yeah, it's because it's a double whammy with you because first of all, you're a manifesting generator. Manifesting generators are multi-passionate. They're designed
Yeah,
to
can we
do.
talk about a little bit about my reading, just like a
Yeah.
overview?
Yeah. So yeah, the manifesting generator, which you are, they make up about 33% of the population, roughly. And yeah, they're multi-passionate. They're multi-hyphenate. They're designed to do lots of different things, lots of different hobbies, lots of different skills, lots of different projects, which makes sense why you kind of hopping why in one thing to the next. And they're very good at starting things, but they can struggle with finishing. And I think there's a lot of shame around that for the MGs. I'll call them MGs, of not finishing because I guess we look at other people and we see that okay, they wrote a whole book in a year, and maybe I started and then I got bored, and then I started a blog, and then I started YouTube videos, and then I started this, and why can't I just stick to one thing?
Yeah.
But actually, you're designed to operate in that way, and through the process of jumping from one thing to the next, you would have learned something within each thing. So maybe a piece of wisdom, maybe a bit of deconditioning, maybe a bit of karma, maybe something, and you're still they're still all valuable. So yeah, I think you found that a breath of fresh air to hear like okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm designed to do
Yeah.
lots of different things.
Yeah, when
um,
you said that yesterday, I was like, okay, good. Because I
yeah,
always saw it as something negative, especially starting something and then not finishing it through. I would be like really harsh on myself because I wasn't finishing it. So I would get like upset at myself, like, oh, here I go trying something else. Or even before I start something, I'm like, oh, here I go starting something new, knowing that I won't finish it.
yeah, but that's
Um, so
perfect.
it was
That's
good to hear that.
yeah, and I think it's important for mothers, our parents, to know this as well. You know, if you have an MG child, don't be hard on them if they haven't finished because and don't just give them one option. Maybe there's like a different options for after school sports, for example, and they can't pick one. They maybe want to try football, then they want to do rugby, and then they want to do
Yeah.
something, and like
Yeah.
just that's them. So I think as parents to really to facilitate that in the child of an MG individual, you let them just get their hands dirty in lots of different things. um,
Yeah. Now that you say that, have you worked with children before?
I
That
haven't.
that you
Yeah.
haven't. That's interesting. Now I'm like, that's actually a good idea to do a reading on a child just so you can know their like
Yeah.
personality. Yeah.
My dream is in the future to work with parents and their children so that the parents can help
Mm.
raise their children. So
Yeah,
maybe in the
yeah.
future at some point. Yeah. And what else was I saying? The other thing that adds to this, like you changing direction a lot, is your open G center. So you have an undefined G center, and the G center is the place of like self identity, self direction in life. And because it's undefined, it means you have inconsistent energy there. It means you're not designed to have a fixed path or a fixed identity. You are
Mhm.
designed to learn and discover and try different things. And whatever feels good, you go in that direction. Whatever makes you feel satisfied, then you go in that direction. And again, this can be very hard for people with the open G center because they might look at their friend that knew from the age of 5 that they wanted to be a fireman, and they've just kept to it, and they knew that, and it's, life was like, it looks from the outside their life was just so simple and easy, and they just knew their thing. And why am I at the age of, I don't know, 30 or 40 or 50, and I'm still don't know which career I want to take, or but you're not designed to have that fixed. So yeah, it can change. You just follow what feels good, and I think that is liberating too. I think the fact that you can choose where you want to go,
Yeah.
what you want to do, is amazing.
Yeah. And I think also because I grew up with my brother who he's probably very defined in that area because since he was little, he wanted to be a police officer.
Mm.
And till and today he is a police officer. Like he grew up, oh my, I remember like from the age of like 4 or 5, my mom would buy him like the costumes for Halloween. He was always a police officer. So I grew up with him knowing what he wanted, and then here I was like just throwing out random things like I want to be a teacher, I want to be this and that. So like you said yesterday, you start comparing yourself to other people, and I had my brother to compare myself. So it's like, okay, there has to be something wrong because he like for sure knows what he wants to do.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, how did you find hearing all this information about yourself?
It was very liberating, like I said earlier. It was almost like a sense of release because like we said yesterday, I've always been very harsh on myself. Um, and because I'm always like trying new things and then I try it and I get bored and I don't finish it through. So because of that cycle that I've had ever since I was like a teen, I'm always like so harsh on myself. So to hear that, it was like, okay, good. So that's fine. Like I'm meant to be this way.
Yeah, and I really find it gives people the confidence to then, like you said, once you found out that you have gifts in your throat
Yeah.
center, that gave you the confidence to take action and do something, which is what I
Yeah.
absolutely love. And I have had a client yesterday. She's at the end of her coaching container, and she has a dream to become a journalist for a Hispanic like TV company, and she's never taken any action towards it because she just never thought she was good enough, too scared, and from discovering all her gifts and her talents and all the skills she has and how they're so aligned for her dream, because there's no coincidence that her skills align with her dream, and just learning how to show up and how to let those opportunities come in, how to magnetize herself for those opportunities. And yeah, since she's at the end of her container now, and she's taken so many actions towards this goal, and it's so amazing to see, because she said to me, I wouldn't have done this if I didn't have this confidence that you've given me or you've shown me within inside of
Yeah.
myself. I wouldn't. And she sent out her CVs and she's applied for a couple of jobs, and a couple of them have got back to her. And I said, as soon as you find out if you've got a job, you have to let me know, because this is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. You know what I was thinking yesterday after we finished our session? When I finished high school, I went to college. I went in as a journalist major. because I wanted to be a news reporter.
Ah, and look
And
what you're
in
doing now.
I know. And in the midst of it, like as soon as I started, like I think I was like 2 semesters in, I was like, no way. Like, this is not for me. Like, I'm too shy. Like, I don't know. I'm not a good communicator. And it's funny because the way you described how you as a little girl would get like nervous, like your hands would get sweaty, you would be afraid to raise your hand, like that was me. So I remember in college, my second or third semester, I was just like, no way, like I'm changing my major like right away. So I was thinking about that yesterday, how funny it was that I had the intention to be a journalist. And then I was just like, no way, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, and how amazing. Like you can really see how if we raise our children and encourage them to step into their natural talents from birth, like wow, I just yeah, they'll have the confidence to actually step into the things that they want to do, and they'll understand them, so they won't compare themselves. Okay, I'm designed to maybe not be so good at finishing things, but that's okay. I don't need to compare myself
Yeah.
to the person sitting next to me. So yeah, I think it comes back to that. You know, if we can help children from a young age to live in alignment with everything they have within inside of them, hopefully people will,
Yeah.
you know, achieve their dreams quicker.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Um, One question I had for you that I just found very interesting. So I know we said that my throat was very defined, which I found like I was like very surprised, and I was surprised because as a child, I was always like very nervous. I never raised my hand. Like I had the answer, but I was never one to raise my hand unless the teacher picked on me. And when that happened, I would just like stumble on my word and get super nervous. So when I found out that my throat was defined, I was like completely shocked. So can we talk a little more about that?
Yeah, so there's probably multiple different influencing factors. I mean, we won't know for sure, but I mean,
Right.
potentially there was a trauma from a young age where maybe you said something and people laughed at you, or you know, or you said something and you got shouted at. I remember a couple of those incidences myself as a young child, so I know that those probably also played a role. And when I became aware of those traumas and what happened, just from having it in awareness, you can start to let it go. So there might have been some of that going on. But if you were also, like, I know for me, I was trying to communicate in a way I wasn't designed to. So you have quite, I only have one gate in my throat. So, you know, that's my way of speaking. But you have quite a few different gates there, quite a few different talents. So you could have been trying to speak in a different way than what you're designed to, or what the talents you have. So usually it will be a combination of things, won't it? You know, it's not like a clear cut answer, but just
Right. Yeah.
awareness, and learning how you are designed to communicate and to tap into that, into your strengths. You'll see, because it's like positive reinforcement. Once I started speaking, you know, flowy and all that, people I got more people were coming to me. So once you
Yeah.
step into your skills and your you know your in your highest potential, it will be validating because more people will be, you know, resonating and coming towards you.
Yeah. And you start getting more and more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I
Yeah.
mean, also, I mean, I missed this out of my story, but I started with 60 seconds. So I went to a business networking event, and I had 60 seconds to pitch my business in front of a room of like 40 people. So I started with 60 seconds, and I kept going back. I went maybe 5, 6 times to do my 60 seconds. And obviously it was the scariest thing in the world. But I kept doing it. And then I and then I got invited to do like a live with someone. So we were together and we did that. And then I came to Bali, and someone said to me, "You need to start doing workshops. Like, I want you to do workshops, and there's a retreat that you can do it on." And she kind of pushed me into it. And she doesn't really do human design. She like facilitated it with me, because I felt, you know, I wasn't ready yet to do it on my own. And now today, I'm able to run them on my own and show off my own things like that. But it's not overnight. It's like you do take steps, and that's
Right.
the
It's
important part. I
baby
think
steps.
it's baby steps, and I think that the beautiful thing about human design and the way I use it is it's very practical. You're going away, you're taking action, you're going away and taking steps. It's not like you're designed like this, like good for you, or like you're designed like this. It's like you have this, and then I'll go and give you action steps, and I'll go. You can go do this, this, and this, and come back to me next week and tell me how it was. So I had to just knowing about my throat sense or how to use my energy. That didn't change my life. What changed my life was taking the baby steps to each time to put myself out there more and more and more.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then how did you end up in Bali? I don't know if you mentioned that at the beginning.
Oh no, how did I end up? So my best friend a couple years ago, I think, she said to me, "I want to go to Bali. Do you want to come with me?" And at the time, I was in my full-time corporate job, so I was like, "Yes," but I don't think that's possible. Like how? I don't know how it's gonna work. So she kind of put it in my brain, and then she ended up not being able to come. And then through all this time, I started my own business. I was then able to come because obviously I was just working for myself. Um, so I planned to come with my boyfriend, was planning on coming together. And then a lot of things started happening at home. Basically, he wasn't able to come anymore, but I still knew that I had to go, and I felt very drawn to it. Um, it's also like the scene is very, health and wellness and personal development. And I just knew that there was a lot of inspiration for me out there because I was working from home from my bedroom. There wasn't much going on in England. It's quite hard to have real aligned friendships in England. I think I did a post about this recently on my Instagram. It's like when you want to meet for a coffee, you have to book a month in advance just to meet a friend for a coffee. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I saw that.
and like
And
that
I was
was,
like, oh, I relate to that because that's how it is here. Because
yeah,
everyone's like so busy. I mean, you know how the US, everyone's like, work, work, work. So I saw that post and I was like, yep, I relate to that.
yeah. And I just wanted like friendships and connection and community um, and also to grow as an individual. So I just knew it was the place to come. So now I actually flew on Christmas Day. So I've been here 6 months now, um, and it's just been the hardest, best thing that's ever happened to me because obviously I was never planning on coming alone. Um, so the things I've gone through, I've grown up so much and stepped into my independence and all those things, which I think has needed to happen. And maybe if I was with my boyfriend and we were here together, I would have been too comfortable. I don't think I would have start going to the networking things, and I wouldn't have. I really had to
Yeah.
step up and meet people, and I stayed in like a community kind of place, like a co-working community. And if I was with him, we would have stayed in a villa. So I mean, it was divine what's happened, and I'm grateful. But yeah, it was like bittersweet.
That's awesome. Do you plan to stay longer or do you plan to go back home to London?
Um, so I think this is a lifestyle now in terms of I can't see myself living. I don't know. I think I see myself as a digital nomad now, is what we call ourselves. And there's a community, and everyone's like so inspiring. The people I've met here, to see how they're making money, to see how they're being creative, to see the freedom they've created for themselves. And everyone's so different. They're all doing different things. And just to see the life they're living, I'm like, wow. And I would 100% raise a family like that. I think, I mean, a lot of people would be scared. No, I need to have a house and I need to be in a location. I need to be by my parents, and but I feel there's so much opportunity in the world, and I don't think I'll stay in Bali, but I think I'll be looking at different countries and communities to see. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I have
Yeah.
to come visit you. I've never been to Bali, but it's on my list.
There's so many Americans here, uh, but yeah, I think you should come because or especially Ubud. Ubud's the place that I stay, and it's Ubud actually means medicine, which is what I found out recently. I didn't know, and it makes sense. It's a very healing place. There's lots of healers and spiritual people, and yeah, just to see how people live their lives, it's just incredible, and everyone's so happy, which is another thing. No one's stressed. You can just sit and talk
Right.
for
Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's stressed here and on a time. Everyone's like rushing to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so it's just so
Yeah.
freeing to like have your own schedule and not have to answer to anyone, and to be able to just connect with people so easily, and it's not surface level. Every time I have a conversation with someone, it's so deep, and yeah, it's incredible. So yes, please let me know when you're coming.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be the first person to know. That's awesome. So, what's next for Fiona? What's next for you?
What's next in terms of business or life
Yeah, in
or
terms of business. Yeah.
business? So at the moment, I'm working on a human design leadership training program. So this program will help anyone that's in a leadership position to be able to nurture the people on their team, because again, we're all so different and different things work for different people, and to ensure the motivation and the efficiency and the productivity of the people that you're working with. Just knowing the human design and working with them to help them tap into their best selves will be amazing. So I have a few people interested in that already. So I'm just in the works of making that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
think
just thinking about like my team that
oh,
I manage, like, in my full time job, just to
mm,
know their human design so you can kind of know how to approach them. That would be,
yeah,
yeah,
and
that
how
would be
how to
awesome.
how to support them as well. For example, projectors is an energy type, and when they don't when they're recognized and acknowledged, it literally is so powerful for them, and they often feel unseen. Even though they are seen, they feel unseen. So just things like that, if you know that you have a projector on your team, to really go out of your way to acknowledge them and say, like, I saw what you did, like that was amazing. Things like that, the small things like that as
Yeah.
well. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome. It got me thinking. I'm like, now I should tell my director. Every month we do like different events. We plan like different events just to like really gather as a team. So we'll go, the other day we went like axe throwing, just different events. So I was just like started thinking, I'm like, maybe I should tell my director to have like a human design reading with you, and then you read everyone's chart,
yeah,
just
that
so
would be
we can all kind of know our human design and know how to approach each other.
And it will also give you so much compassion for other people, is what I found as well, because again, we have different ways of making decisions and things like that. And when you understand, okay, that person needs longer to make a decision, it's not because they don't want to, it's
Yeah.
because they actually need, and to give them the space for that instead of pressuring them, like, answer me now kind of thing. Or if they're
Yeah.
manifestors, for example, are very independent and autonomous. So, like, you need to be able to give them their space. Like the worst thing in the world it would be to look over their shoulder and like micromanage them. And
Yeah.
you might get frustrated with them. Like, why aren't you following what I'm saying? They need their independence. So just to understand the others will give you compassion and help you nurture them and support them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then one last question from me. What advice would you give someone that's like on the verge of if they should, do their human design reading?
I'd say find out at least your energy type. Basically, human design is got so many layers to it, right? It's like an onion, there's so many layers. And it's so important that you master the top layers first before you go deep in. So, your energy type, your strategy, and your authority are the most important things. Um, and you can find out those things on my website. Maybe we can just put in the notes later. So once you find out those three things, maybe have a bit of a Google, have a look online. Maybe you can look up my Instagram or things like that just for bits of information. Um, and then you're more than welcome to, book in a reading or anything like that. But I would say, like, you don't need to go down a rabbit hole of like what are all my gates and what are my arrows and what is, all these deep things. Because like I said to you, um, if I was talking intuitively and in flow and speaking, communicating how I'm designed to communicate, but I wasn't using my strategy or my authority, which is my decision making sense, if I wasn't using that correctly, me speaking in alignment with how I'm designed to speak isn't going to go so far. So that's why it's so
Right.
important just for the foundational stuff to really know that. And once you've mastered that, then you can start going down the rabbit hole because it's never ending.
Right. Yeah. That's where I am now. Like now I want to know like what everything means. And I'm going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you have that detail gate, so you love all the details, every single
Yes.
detail. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know when you mentioned that yesterday, I was like, yep, that's me.
yeah, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, that's
But,
awesome.
so,
Thank you so much for joining. And then where can everyone find you? I'll
um,
also add it on the show notes, but your
okay.
website, where can they find you on social media?
Okay, so my Instagram is at wellbeing from source, and my website is wellbeingfromsource.com/human design. So you can find out some information about your human design in there. And then on my website, you can buy a report, or you can book in a session, like an HD analysis session, or there's also a coaching container I do where we look into everything, the entire chart, and we look into the shadow side, any limiting beliefs, any areas of conditioning, and that's when we start taking actions in between each session. You go away with an action plan, and you go away and you do, and you make your life will transform basically because you're taking the actions, taking the steps.
Yes, I that's what I'm gonna do next.
Amazing, can't wait to have you.
Yeah, Fiona, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you. It was amazing to hear all about the human design. And if you have any last words of wisdom, like please do share.
Oh, okay, I like to end with, you are designed to be successful and you are designed to achieve your purpose.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining.
Cynthia. Take care. Have a good evening. Yeah, evening for you now.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.